3.1, Community Solar Project Budget Adjustment.
Good evening, Mayor Garcia and council members. This item before you tonight is a request for a budget adjustment for our community solar project that we are in the very early stages of investigating. And so we thought we'd give you a very brief overview of what the community solar project may be and what we're looking at right now. So I'm here tonight with Sean Matcham, who's our Electric Regulatory Compliance Administrator, and you've had presentations from him before. So just a brief overview about what community solar is. Community solar is a utility-sized, centrally located solar energy project. So it's something that, rather than having it distributed on rooftops, it's actually centrally located. It's very large in scale. Customers under a community solar type project or program can actually subscribe to get solar energy from the project rather than having solar on the roof. Maybe sometimes it's not viable for them or they don't want to spend the money to do that, but they still want to have solar. They can buy into this program or project. So it really provides them with an option. And there's potential economies of scale for customers because the larger the project, the actually cheaper the per unit cost is many times. And so that's why these types of projects have been successful with other utilities. As you know, we have some of the highest penetration of rooftop solar in the nation. Our customers value solar. We have such a number of our customers like it. Actually, some of our solar customers have expressed an interest in participating in a community solar project. And it also could provide us with qualifying renewable energy. As you know, a new law was passed this year that's going to require that we obtain 50% of our electric resources from renewable energy. So this could help us reach that goal. And so we've actually initiated efforts and an investigation into whether or not this could work in Roseville, and we've actually decided it might be a very viable project. So we are asking for approval of a budget adjustment this evening for $150,000 to do some additional work.
Good evening. Just want to pick up on the rest of the presentation, pick up where Michelle left off. We're excited in the electric utility department to look at a project like this. This is really an item that is emerging in the industry as a business model for utilities to provide another service to the community and to the customers. So for us, getting started with this means moving forward with advancing a pilot program. I think moving into this business line or business model is something we want to be cautious with. We don't want to jump in too quickly. So we're planning to advance a pilot project in the size of about 500 kW to 900 kW. Now we're very early in this process, but to put that into perspective, we expect a project of that size to reach about 200 to 400 of our customers. A lot of details to work out, but that's the scale. The important part about the pilot program is it will give us an opportunity to evaluate our customer receptiveness to the program, understand how well or how much participation interest they may be from our community, and then really assess the business model implementation for this for the community. This, again, not emerging technology, but an emerging business model for this, and so very important for us to understand what this may look like in our community. And then also moving forward with a phased approach or a pilot program really allows us to build a platform to expand if this program is successful in that pilot phase. So one of the important items about any type of infrastructure project like this is identifying a site or identifying a location. And we've identified a preferred site for this pilot program, and it's at the Roseville Energy Park. I'll remind some of the council members, and you may be aware of this, the original plan for the Roseville Energy Park when it was originally constructed back in 2007, it did contemplate in concept solar facilities in that area. And so here we are nearly a decade later, and we think it's the right time to assess moving forward with those types of resources. One of the other benefits of focusing on the REP is some of the environmental and regulatory work that would be associated with a project like this is somewhat already completed in some regards. And even though we're moving forward with solar or advancing this as a solar project, there is still environmental work and regulatory work. and also the property, the REP property in the vicinity, or the property itself, and the property adjacent to the plant is city property and may provide opportunity for expansion if that pilot program is successful. So the budget adjustment, which is before the council tonight, is really funding to allow us to begin with the initial environmental reviews and assessments for us to address and comply with any of the applicable regulatory requirements. And there are several that we know already that we would need to advance. Those include some federal environmental requirements with the Army Corps of Engineers, CEQA requirements, as well as work with the California Energy Commission, because that entity has jurisdiction over the plant right now. And then also to address any other what I'll call pre-development costs that we may incur as part of evaluating this pilot program. So moving forward as next steps, and they're very high-level next steps for us now, because again, we're really in the early process to advance this project. Certainly, we have the budget request before the City Council tonight to approve the budget adjustment in the amount of $150,000, and that would allow us to get going in earnest on some of those items I already mentioned. As part of the development of this project, and and particularly for Phase 1, we expect to move forward with a request for proposals process here in the coming months. We would go out to market, if you will, and solicit proposals from third parties that would help us develop this project with the utility and in the community. We're also going to begin some of the preliminary environmental work to make sure that we understand what the true environmental mitigation is associated with a project like this on this phase. And not only for Phase 1, but because the environmental process and the regulatory process can be very long, we'll begin to look ahead a little onto Phase 2 for expansion, what the environmental requirements may be if, again, this project is successful because of the lag time associated with some of the environmental mitigation. So that's just a brief overview of what we are planning to advance in terms of community solar, the Phase 1 pilot program, and a tentative kind of next steps for us. So that's the prepared presentation for this evening. Certainly glad to answer any questions that you may have on the program.
Great, thank you. Susan, do you have any questions?
Are there any other municipal utilities that have already started doing this? Are you going to have the benefit to learn from somebody else's experience?
Yes, absolutely. Several municipal utilities are looking at this as a program. SMUD has advanced several projects and anticipates another 75 megawatts in community solar over the next, I think, 5 to 10 years for their region. It is also becoming, again, an emerging business model throughout the nation. And so there are some really good examples out there on success stories, and even examples where things haven't worked very well. There is a lot of emphasis placed on community solar now so that all customers would have access to renewable energy. So absolutely, there are items out there that we can lean on for guidance, and we have been doing that as part of this preparation for this pilot program.
Are there visual impacts sometimes associated with these?
Yeah, that's a very good question, and there can be. One of the items that is on the forefront of importance for the California Energy Commission is exactly that. What are the visual impacts that we would have to the plant and kind of the jurisdiction that the CEC has? And that's one of the regulatory processes that we'll go through. We've talked to the CEC already, and that's the first thing they come up with as a question. We're not going to change any of the performance characteristics of the Roseville Energy Park, but that visual piece will certainly change, and we'll need to be sensitive to that.
Would you be giving any consideration to the potential for an amendment of the general plan in order to establish some, base criteria for locating these going forward?
That's a good question. I know that we would need to bring anything that we're doing in addition to the California Energy Commission before our Planning Commission to make sure that things make sense in terms of the visual aspects and the use of the property. So it's still a development, or part of that development will be going through our Planning Commission.
Okay, I guess I would just suggest that the city owns a lot of property around the city, and people may have concerns about visual impacts if there isn't some policy discussion somewhere that guides design. I would just think about the value of having that to provide certainty in the community. Thank you.
Bonnie?
So the customers would sort of buy into the project, correct? Would the amount that the customers pay pretty much cover the cost of the project?
Yeah, it would necessarily, it would have to do that.
Okay.
And that's exactly how it would work. There are different business models on how the relationship exists between the utility, the developer, and the customer, but ultimately the customer would be paying for their participation and the generation that would come from that solar facility. Absolutely.
Now, the utility, if we got benefit of the renewable energy component, we would pay for that.
Okay,
So that would be part of our cost. But we would be paying for that anyway, so.
thank you.
Pauline?
And it sounds something really to look into, considering that we could, as an electric utility, get credit for doing green energy here, where and also our community who would benefit too, because if they don't want to put it on a house, or they're renting, or whatever, they could still benefit. So it'd be an opportunity for both our city of Roseville electric and our residents to have another way to further enhance our green energy.
Correct, that's the primary reason
Yeah,
that we're
we'd
doing
look into
this.
it and we could see what the pros and cons are.
Yes. We've heard from a number of our customers through our outreach this past year and through surveys that they are interested in a community solar type project. So that's
Yeah.
one of the motivations here.
Jim, do you have any?
No, I don't
Questions?
think that.
I don't either. I'll go ahead and open it up for public comment. Is there anybody from the public who would like to comment on this item? Seeing none, we'll close public comment. Oh, okay, would you please come forward and state your name?
Hi, everybody. My name's Benjamin Johns, and I'm the regional manager for Sun Edison for all of Northern California. I'm here speaking. I'm actually pretty close with the CEO to Sun Edison, Ahmad, and we currently do community solar actually all over the country, so it's something you guys should definitely talk to us about. We just built a 450 megawatt system in Chile, doing community solar in that country and all over. Visually, all our panels are American made, they're jet black, so that's something you guys should look into, non-reflective panels and things like that. So it definitely is a viable project. You just have to, I'm sure you guys are taking bids, things like that. As far as Sun Edison goes, we're already building these projects all over the country, and we have plenty of information to give to you guys. So if you guys, would like that, I can definitely put together a lot of stuff for the city of Roseville and get you guys a lot of great information on it.
Great, thank you for your
Thank you very
comments.
much.
Is there anybody else from the public who would like to speak on this item? Okay, seeing none, I'll close public comment, and I'll go ahead and have the clerk read the proposed action.
It's the adoption of ordinance number 5597, authorizing certain amendments to the 2015-2016 budgets, and declaring this ordinance to be immediately effective as an appropriation measure. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Councilmember Gore?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Rohan?
Yes.
Councilmember Herman?
Yes.
Councilmember Rakucci?
Yes.
And Mayor Garcia?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, that brings us to item